I have two cats. I love cats. I love my chickens. I love my pigs. But dogs are my number one.
So you have like more titles than anyone else I know.
I always said I learned as much from my interns as they learned from me.
And you were the one who developed the first underwater treadmill, I believe.
Yeah. I went to my boss and I said, I want to learn acupuncture. And he said, I don't believe in it. I won't pay for it. I won't give you the time off for it. And if you do it, I won't refer to you.
I think that when it comes to the performance, you'd be a racehorse and I'd be a draft horse. Hello, my dog lovers. Hi, we are here today with my dear friend, Dr. Laurie McCauley. Hi, Laurie.
Hey, how's it going, Peter?
And Dr. Laurie McCauley is a well-renowned, acclaimed, board-certified specialist, rehab specialist for dogs and also uh, rehabilitation and Laurie, rehabilitation and I have a blank.
So, sports medicine and
Sports
rehabilitation.
medicine. Oh, there you go. Today we're going to do something a little different because I haven't seen Laurie for a long time. We're going to start just, I don't know, inquiring what she's been up to, what you've been up to. And then we're going to dive into a little project that I started a month ago with Dr. Judy Morgan. We sat down and we just answered questions based on conversation cards. And it was so much fun that I thought, wouldn't it be great if you guys watching would get to know us a little better beyond the veterinary medicine because you know what we are doing and you probably keep track of at least some of us. But I always love knowing my professionals beyond the kind of beyond the stethoscope, beyond the lab coat, and so on. So, Laurie, are you in today?
I'm in. Let's do it.
Okay, great. Before we start, though, I'd like to know what you've been up to because I know that you're really, really busy, and you and your partner have been recording things and offering courses. So I know that they're available at Optimum Pet Vitality.
Mhm.
And if anyone wants to check out the courses, I've taken some and I absolutely love them. Pax and I are using mainly the laser course and laser machine, which I'm very grateful for. And you, Lori, are also have been very instrumental in getting Pax through the recovery post hormone deficiency. And when he was put on HRT,
Right.
we also started doing laser therapy, and we still continue using it on kind of semi-regular basis whenever I feel like he goes through difficult, challenging exercise or something like that. I just kind of laser him. And of course, I laser myself as well.
Mhm.
So, what have you been up to?
So I've been doing a ton of lecturing. So in the last 6 weeks, I've had 5 different conferences that I went to. Everything from um, Colonial in Virginia. We were at ABCA in Branson, Missouri. We did a 2-day seminar at a vet hospital in Michigan, Healing Oasis in Illinois. That was a tough one. I don't get me wrong, I love going there, and I had to turn down the Hawaii Veterinary Medical Association because I had already said yes to lecturing for them. So it's been a little bit of a whirlwind, and it's been amazing because we've met so many people and just been able to see some really miraculous things. Can I tell you about like 2 people from this past weekend?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We always like
So
to
you know how I'm still learning all this tuning fork course stuff, right? And we're trying to
preparation.
put together the next course. And it's because I'm working with people. It's like when I had interns. I always said I learned as much from my interns as they learned from me. So we had a gentleman, Keith, who is been doing chiropractic for over 50 years, and his hands are all gnarled. And I asked him, I said, "How can I help you?" And he said, "I can only grip. I can't hold anything." And in about 5 minutes, we took his gnarled hand and had it flat.
Oh,
It was amazing. And we had a student who's a chiropractor student say that she had had ulcerative colitis for 12 weeks. So she was a group of 4 students. They were amazing, super neat ladies. And I said, okay, well, citrine is the best stone for GI issues. And we spent probably like 15, 20 minutes working on her stomach her GI area. And the next day she came to me and she said, "Oh my God, I got done. We had pizza last night." And I said, "I'm skinny." She had not had a meal where she hadn't bloated, feeling like she was super pregnant in 12 weeks. Right? So this sort of stuff is crazy and cool. And I'm so
It
blessed to
makes
be a part of
sense.
it.
It makes sense because I've been really aware of the fact that the body is actually a vibrational system, right? Like it's just
Yeah.
particles that are put together in certain constellation. And the disease is almost like the disturbance particles or disturbance energy. And if we find ways to neutralize it, and obviously the tuning forks seem to be like one of the methods that can be used, and it's obviously easy to use at home and so on. So do you have any courses on that?
Yes. Well, right now we have tuning into your dog, which is like an intro to the tuning forks. It's a few hours. I mean, it's really good. People love it, and it comes with the tuning fork with the amethyst tip because that's the best one for soft tissue and for fascia. And they learn how to free the diaphragm, get rid of trigger points, work on the lymphatics, all of that stuff. Um, and then, like I said, as I'm learning, we're taking notes furiously so that we can come up with the next one because it's just blowing me away the things that we're seeing.
What I like on you the most, like you're board certified specialist, you have like more titles than anyone else I know, and you're so humble, and you're not afraid to say, "Hey, I'm learning and
Oh yeah.
I'm exploring this new field," and that's really beautiful, and it's actually kind of unique in a way because. At school we were taught that if we don't know, we have to cover it up so we pass, right? And that's not really the way I operate either. But it is actually almost it's very unique to actually have someone who is so open-minded to new things and also humble. So I appreciate you for that, and I've learned tons from
Mhm.
you. And I also do have tuning fork and in a
Mhm.
drawer here, and we've used it a few times in packs. But I need to brush up my skills and become a little more knowledgeable in that area. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
So I think that we're ready for cards. And
Okay.
you can tell me. I can actually kind of divide them. You can tell me take it from this hand or that hand. This is my right hand. This is my left hand. I'm not sure whether in the camera it shows up the same way. And you can even say take them from the middle or it's
I would say the inside left hand card.
inside left hand. Okay, okay. And it has by the way, it has two cards, two questions on each card. So my proposal is that we'll both answer them and see what comes to it. Well, obviously, ladies first. And so, huh, if you had to write a book, what would it be about, Laurie?
That's an easy one. Healing dogs. Everything I knew to help people help dogs, right? My motto, my tagline, my heart is empowering people, optimizing pets. And like let's sit here. Dogs are my number one. I have two cats. I love cats. I love my chickens. I love my pigs. But it would all be everything I could possibly put about healing dogs.
That's cool. It doesn't surprise me a bit. I actually have been attempting to write a book as well. I haven't told many people. I don't really know when it's going to be out. Uh, I have decided that it's going to be half of the book is going to be on the healing system that I've used and that I've developed over the years. And the second part will be actually on almost like a memoir, living in the Eastern Bloc and then moving to Canada and then just kind of, comparing all the different things and systems. And also, as life happened, like, I'm sure that you have situations where um, you've been put in front of a intersection or you were at an intersection, and if you made a left turn or right turn it would be a very different life. Can you uh do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Did it
yeah,
happen to you?
yeah.
Yeah. Is there any such situation that you'd be open to sharing? Like
Sure.
the crossroads.
So my life is full of those. So, for instance, I worked at a what we called the Cadillac practice when I was in general medicine, and I felt a tug on my heart to learn acupuncture. And I went to my boss and I said, I want to learn acupuncture, and he said, I don't believe in it. I won't pay for it. I won't give you the time off for it. And if you do it, I won't refer to you. And I had to go back and pray and meditate and said, no, this is what I need to do. And then at the same time, my sister-in-law is like, hey, we have all these dogs that, the surgeon says they're fine, the x-rays look fine, but she worked with police dogs. And she said they just don't function the same way. And I thought, okay, well, if I take an acupuncture course, I'll take a physical therapy course. And, that's how I'll move forward because that's, where my heart lies. And I started this tiny little practice inside a house. I mean, it was tiny, tiny, tiny. And then my old boss died of a heart attack. And everybody thought like he dropped dead. Everybody thought I would buy his practice. And I had to make that decision. Do I give up where I feel like my life is going, which was literally the first rehab clinic ever, or do I drop that and go back to general practice? And that's how rehab was born, is I said, no, I'm going to go forward with this, and everything just mushroomed from there.
The rest is history. And you were the one who developed the first underwater treadmill, I
Mhm.
believe,
Yeah.
which is kind of amazing because so many people use them now. You
Well,
know,
and
for
think about
me,
this,
mhm,
that was before there was a tank. So I literally designed a 10-inch cement block. We had an upside down cup with our upright cup of cement. We had a jet ski lift, and then we had a welder solder a human underwater treadmill onto the jet ski lift. And then when we crank it down and crank it back up, and we put windows in and we put cameras by the windows so we could see how the dogs were moving from the back, how they were moving from the side. And then we had a monitor hanging from a computer monitor hanging from the ceiling so that the security camera, it was a home security camera because that's all we had, could send up so you could be in the pool with the dog and see what they're doing as you're working with the dog. Yeah. So what about you, Peter?
yeah. So, I was just recently, I actually thought of it, and it's fairly recent. When Pax was neutered and he became severely injured and not recovering and so on. I think that at that point I didn't know you. So I called my colleague who is a board certified specialist here in BC, and his office told me, and I worked with him for 5 years before, and despite that, his office told me, hey, he doesn't have time for 3 months. So I was really bummed and kind of like also felt like, uh, we worked together. Like if he called me in the middle of the night, I'd be there for him. And
Right.
somehow he didn't have time, or maybe, I don't know, maybe I've done something in the past that he didn't like. I have no idea. But anyway, I was kind of upset about it. And as a result of that, I was actually searching for different solutions. I came across the study on hormone replacement therapy and put Pax on hormone replacement therapy. And he recovered fully, obviously, with some additional treatments, laser and so on. But if this kind of event didn't happen, I wouldn't have been able to help all the other animals. And now Dr. Karen Becker and I have recorded the hormone series and really try to put together a community that will address these serious issues. So, looking back, like sometimes we see events as negative, as in your situation, um, and it turned out perfectly. And in my case as well. So it's only a sign that whenever something is happening in our lives and we get frustrated or worried or just wait a little longer, right? Like most of it actually turns out positive when we have our heart in it, and the universe somehow is listening. That's my sense. So anyway, so the next question, what's your best psychological feature? That's kind of like it's like
Oh,
it's like we are not devices, right? That's a weird question, but let's try to answer it anyway.
easy. I would say I am very much a critical thinker, right?
uh,
So I look at every situation and I look for the proof in it. I look for consistencies. I look for authenticity. It's one of the reasons I love you so much is because you are so full of heart and authentic. And when I see people who are pompous or full of themselves or don't think they have something to learn, right? That pushes me away from them. Whereas people who are open and willing to share just draws me in.
Well, what you see is your reflection for sure. Can you give me an example of any of such situation where you just kind of discovered something that
Critical thinker?
wouldn't have
Oh,
been discovered?
everything I do. So I have a dog in front of me, of course, right? And I said, okay, so and so says if you want to check for lumbosacral disease, you put pressure down the spine, and maybe you lift the tail. But then I see people who, because I've had interns from 17 countries, they extend the hip, but it looks like it goes further. And so I put on my critical brain and I say, okay, but I want to isolate. I want, if there's pain in the back end, I don't want to just say there's pain in the back end, put them on drugs. So I discovered a way to, if you stabilize the two brachii, so the pelvis, and you
Yeah.
extend the hip, you've isolated. So all you have is if there's pain at the hip. And if there's no
Mhm.
pain at the hip, if you slide your palm up to the sacrum, you have more motion now. And then you've isolated the sacroiliac joint. And if you have no
Mhm.
pain there, you can come up to L7 with your hand and then take it further. And then you have the, in this case, the right side lumbosacral joint. So it's much more specific and sensitive to looking for pain rather than just saying he has pain in the back end or guessing where it's at.
This is so interesting. Whenever I talk to you, I almost feel like I'm seeing kind of like a little bit of a female version of the of myself. Like we are so similar, and that's why we get along. I think that open-mindedness and curiosity is my feature. Like I know that we learn certain things and how things are, but then being open-minded is absolutely amazing. And just recently, I actually listened to a podcast with a medical doctor who has had some sort of very severe autoimmune lymphatic system disease, where basically he was on deathbed about 5 times,
Oh, wow.
and because he was curious and obviously very desperate to kind of stay alive, he actually came to trying sirolimus or rapamycin for this particular disease. And I think that he's been alive on this medication for 11 more years. And
Wow.
had given a podcast and all that. And it's not a medication that should be used on regular basis, just as a an adjunct to biohacking. I don't think that many people actually are now believing that that's a good idea. But in his case, if he wasn't open-minded, he wouldn't have discovered that. And the other thing is that he actually is now taking different drugs and medications, looking at the biopathways and what biomechanisms they affect, and basically finding new purposes of these approved and inexpensive medications in
Nice.
medicine that were not discovered before.
Hmm.
So it's kind of amazing because they are actually able to treat diseases that were incurable and just looking at things from a different perspective.
Hmm.
And this is what you're actually describing as well. And I very much resonate with. So that's really cool. Um, let's see. We have more cards
Wait,
here.
wait, wait. Did you answer that?
Yeah, we've
Oh,
done
okay.
two. We've done two. On my best psychological feature. Well, I think
Oh,
that
this.
curiosity and open-mindedness
Got it.
as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's I kind of answered it.
Yep.
Okay, so we have more to come here.
What you got?
you can
You
you
want to
can say
fan
left or
tail?
right, right? You know that I'm not cheating here.
Oh, of course. Of course. Right hand outside.
Outside, cool. Okay. I think I should ask your partner for that. In what way, Laurie, do you think you're difficult to live with?
Oh, that's easy. 99% of the time, I get amazing sleep and I wake up at sometime between 4 and 6 in the morning and it's good morning, um, which can be very irritating for somebody who doesn't wake up like that. And the other thing is on the days that I don't sleep well, I'm not as nice of a person. Um,
Mhm.
and I am brutally honest. That is
Mornings
sometimes,
are your times, though. Mornings are your times, and brutal honesty.
yes.
Brutal honesty is not actually bad thing. I think that I find the North American politeness is where people don't really tell you what they think difficult. You know, I prefer a good Italian kind of argument than not knowing where you're at. I also
Mhm.
think that things get really much better when we actually are constructively critical. And as a Czech person, we are super critical to ourselves and others. So, I think that my difficult part of personality is that I have really high standards for myself, but also others. And that can sometimes come as nitpicky. But, when we see what comes through at the end, it's all worth it. But it is probably not easy to live with. Like, my perfectionism and my attention to detail and just kind of scrutinizing over every little thing. Yeah, that may be difficult.
Yeah. Again, I think we're two peas in a pod there.
Harry, okay. I know that you're a perfectionist, and I think that you're much more productive in a way. I still find your pace like unbelievably. Like you've gone to 5 different conferences in 5 weeks or 6 weeks. Like it's just like for me, I do two a year, and I go, okay. I think that was enough. Like I really enjoyed it at
Mhm.
five and teaching for hours and hours at the same time. So I think that when it comes to the performance, you'd be a racehorse and I'd be a draft horse, dragging the kegs of beer somewhere in Copenhagen, in
Oh,
Denmark,
but Peter,
Carlsberg.
in what you do, you touch so many lives, right?
Thank
So
you. You know it. Like we are just ourselves, right? So we don't really know how other people perceive us. And when you go to conferences, you know how much people love you. And I guess we saw each other in Orlando, and I was super surprised that people actually were interested in what we were to talk about, and it was just really sweet. I was really grateful. And when they called me to reinvite me for the 2027, I was just really surprised. But I guess I'm going again. It will be in
exciting.
Texas. And I think that you should. Are you coming as well to that party
I
too?
think we're gonna come. I haven't not been asked to lecture, but I'm gonna come.
I have to suggest to you to Judy because I think that she may have not been aware that you'd be open to going. But
Yeah,
let's
yeah, that would be awesome.
yeah. Anyway, so the next one is what scars do you feel? This is really personal. You can choose not to answer. We can choose another card. We can delete this footage. Or not. What scars do you feel your childhood has left on your adult personality?
I would say and I am totally open, right? I'm an open book. When I was a young child, the neighborhood kids were like the cool kids, and that's not who I was. And I learned that I could hang with them, and they would backstab each other, and they were just mean. And I chose to be by myself rather than losing my integrity to fit in. And I think that actually was a huge part of my character going forward because I would always rather be myself and be authentic than to lose my integrity to fit in. I'll just leave it that way.
For like I was one of four kids, and weirdly enough, and I obviously don't remember it, but when I was two, I apparently witnessed my sister being spanked, and in Eastern Europe, 60s, like easy, right? Spanking was normal. And my sister was spanked, and I apparently stood up in my high chair at the table and yelled at my father, "You're an animal, we'll lock you in a cage." And I know that a 2-year-old cannot come up with that, right? So it was probably channeled from somewhere else, I think. But that definitely sealed my childhood on some level. Like we battled, my dad and I battled, and I learned to actually go against the grain of someone else's force. So I kind of learned to be quite stubborn in a way, or if someone told me, "Hey, you can't do that," like I would find a way.
Mhm.
So yeah, so again, I think it's a good example of how a seemingly negative event can actually turn into positive. And I think that we either go through difficult life early on or later on. If we have too cushy life, right, early on,
Yep.
then it becomes more difficult later on because we are failing to launch or do what we
Mhm.
want to do and look at others and feel like failure, and that's not good. So anyway, thank you for sharing. That's really lovely.
So can I tell you, you talk about you and your dad. My dad and I butted heads. In fact, I always said one of the best lessons my dad ever taught me was that I could say no. Um, and he used to say, "I can't believe you're not even stubborn. You're obstinate." And then as I grew up, I loved that word. And then obstinate. And then I realized,
Obstinate.
yes. And then I realized it's perseverance, right? It's don't tell me no. Help me figure out how I can get what I
Mm,
want,
mm,
right?
mm. I completely agree. I have pretty much everything that was worth it in my life actually happened on the second try. Getting to the vet school and then even immigrating to Canada. Canada refused us the first time around and didn't budge, right? Um, Everything that basically, like, I started another business a long time ago and that didn't go really well, and the second one did, and like everything kind of happened the second try. And so no means yes, but later,
Right. Yeah.
maybe, right?
Yep.
It's so
Oh,
nice to actually learn about you, and as a person who really thrives on connection, like learning to know more about my colleagues and my friends is like the best thing. Actually, it just makes me feel happy. Okay, I'm gonna mix them up a little bit,
okay.
so we can give the randomness a chance. Inside,
All right.
outside, left, right.
Inside right hand.
Okay, inside, right hand. This one is red, so I'm curious to see that may be some sort of okay. Really cool. What has been the most useful career advice you've ever heard?
What has been the most useful career advice I've ever heard? If you give 110%, you'll never have to go back and say, I wonder what would have happened if I had just tried harder.
110%. That's the racehorse, right?
Yeah.
Again. How about 20% effort with 80% difference? Am I now officially lazy by making these statements? Like, I don't think that I'm lazy, but maybe I should reassess that. uh, for me, most useful advice I've gotten, and I think I got it probably somewhere on a podcast or in a book somewhere. Go the route of least regret. So if I have two choices, then making the decision of least regret. If I can, let's say, give you an example. When I decided to move to Canada, I knew that I could go back, but I could regret if I haven't tried.
Hmm.
So that's something that I wanted to do. Or with Pax, when I put him on hormone replacement therapy, I knew that there was not much left, and we tried pretty much everything or almost everything. And so I went the route of least regret to put him on HRT, and it turned out to be the right decision. But I just don't want to live my life in regret, if it makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah.
And so just kind of go, okay, what would I regret more, trying or not trying?
Hmm. That's great. Yes.
Yeah, and I like yours too, a lot. Um, when did you last sincerely apologize to someone, and over what?
When did I last sincerely apologize to somebody and over what? Well, goodness knows I make mistakes all the time.
It's a hard thing
Yeah.
to find concrete example, right? And I I will start then, just to make it
Yeah,
easier.
please.
I looked at my calendar this morning and it kind of changed. My schedule changed, and I was supposed to go from an accounting meeting to a recording meeting like within a minute. And I'm thinking like, oh, I just got so frustrated. So I called my team and I said, "You guys, like, I can't really do this. This is humanly impossible, right? Like, why?" And so then I apologized for being irritated because, yeah, because I know that they didn't mean it badly. They just overlooked it or didn't think about it. And so I guess I get impatient or frustrated sometimes. And, I try to keep my emotions in check. And sometimes it's not as easy. But I think that as I grow older, yesterday or yeah, oh yeah, yesterday I didn't apologize, but that was actually about the emotions. I walked past at 6 o'clock in the morning at kind of a harbor site in Vancouver, hoping that nobody would be there. There were like tons of bikers, which was really unpleasant, but he was off leash. And there was someone behind me yelling at me, "Put your dog on the leash," right? And in Prague, like I can have my dog off leash as long as I don't endanger anyone else.
Hmm.
And this person at 6 o'clock a.m. didn't have anything better than yelling at me. So I actually checked myself in and did not react and just walked. So that's my response. But again, going back to the question, I derailed here. Sorry about that. Um, when did you last sincerely apologize to someone and over what? You can't get away from it.
I don't know. I'm just trying to think because there's little things all the time, but
It's okay. We can,
I was
it's
just saying, in general, I apologize for being late because I live by the if I can get one more thing done before I go somewhere, and then like I'm so sorry I'm late, or like for my clients all the time, that's like, look, I'll show you. My pig grabbed a bag of acupuncture needles and I had to chase her around the yard to get them back, or
your pig, you said?
my pig has done that. Yep. My pig has come in and stolen a bag
I
of
thought you were
M&Ms.
joking, but you're serious.
I'm serious. I'm serious. Or the pig stole the box of Cheerios and I couldn't let her eat a whole box, so I had to sweep them up. She, there's Peter, there are many a day that I have to say, Henry, don't you dare get out of the house. No pigs in the house. And sometimes she stays at the door and looks,
We want
and
to see a
sometimes she
picture. I think
runs
that,
in.
and his name is Henry, or her name is Henry.
Her name is Henry. So when we got her, we were told it was a boy, and I thought, a big fat pig, name it King Henry, right? That would be cool. And then when we found out it was a girl, we're like, Henrietta? No, she won't come to Henrietta, but if you call her Henry, she comes a trucking.
That's cool. That's
Yep.
cool.
And
He's
her
he,
favorite
she.
treat that we keep on the counter is gummy bears. If she steals a bag of gummy bears, then you got to chase her down because it's too much sugar for her.
She'd be in danger in Canada because a lot of gummy bears in Canada here they contain THC and all. Oh my goodness! Like we had a lot of animals in Whistler, BC, where I used to work at as a veterinarian. We had a lot of animals coming in stoned. It was crazy because it was
Really?
kind of like a stoner town, a skier town, and yeah, it was kind of crazy. But I've never heard of pigs who want to be acupuncturists. So this is I think that we need to insert Henry here
Henry.
in this video. If you have any footage of Henry, and
Oh,
if you don't, I'm
absolutely.
gonna
We can
beg you
get
to
her
send
running
me
through
some.
the yard.
So is Henry uh, a real fatso or
No, she's actually skinny. We have two
oh
pigs,
she's skinny?
and she is a skinny pig. In fact, I just dewormed her again to make sure that she's getting enough nutrition because she seems like she's lost a little more weight, and she's only 5 years old. No, she's
Mm,
8 years old. And
mm.
then Snoopy, our 5-year-old pig, is very overweight. But because we have a small orchard and we have grapes and apples and cherries and peaches and plums, and he just eats everything.
Yeah, so maybe they just need to have separate pens so she has some to eat as well.
Yes.
Someone is greedy pig,
Hmm.
greedy pig and skinny pig.
Yes.
You could actually have a restaurant like that. Greedy pig. Okay. Oh my goodness. It would be a good topic for everyone on this planet, okay?
Okay.
Everyone, singularly everyone. Um, how has your family damaged you? You know, like you said, like like I think that this is not difficult for anyone to answer, but it's pretty close to close. I can tone it down a little bit. Go ahead, Laurie, if you want to go
I
first.
was gonna say my family has made me strong because our family's not close. So because it's not close, it's a lot of doing things independently. So if I had one wish family-wise in the world, it would be that I was closer with my siblings.
Oh, yeah. So from challenge, there's a strength, right, coming up,
Hmm.
which is really nice. How has my family damaged me? It's really weird. I think that I would somehow actually answer in a very similar way because I was the difficult kid. I was the stubborn kid. I was the kid that battled with my father, and that made me stronger. So, and I was as a 4-year-old, my parents, in a very kind of European way of upbringing, told me that if I didn't behave, that I would go to an orphanage, right? And because our family friend would actually, she used to work in sorry, in an orphanage. They would actually take me up in the mountains in this kind of like, to this stone walled house with walls thick like this. And
Uh-huh.
they would actually show me what the orphanage looked like and they would take me in. And it was actually pretty traumatic. So I
Oh,
had
huge,
I
yeah.
had some I had some abandonment issues for some time until I realized this is not real. But yeah, a lot of different things. So once again, I think that when early life is more difficult, then we grow up faster and we somehow learn to deal with life in a different way. But, when I look back, are there any remnants of those insecurities and so on? I'd say absolutely, because, like I still think of the orphans and in that building and also of all the kids and animals who actually have not been lucky to have good home, right? So
Right.
it just yeah. Anyway, so that's the damage.
How many siblings are there, Peter?
um i I have two sisters, and my late brother died of a brain tumor in 2005, and I miss him quite a bit.
Yeah.
Mainly because the girls they are so alike and they get along so well and they're in cahoots in each other. So when we are apart, like we get along perfectly. But when the two sisters and I are together, then I kind of feel like I'd like my brother back because he was really a good person. He
Nice.
died at 49, which was
Oh,
really
way
way
too young.
way too early. Yeah. So I think that we have time for three more questions, and
Okay.
and the next card you're going to choose, but there is one side of this card, so let's go. Um, these are really funny, like these cards. Like I don't really know how long I've had them, but this is the first time I've used them, and they're good questions. Like I bought another set of cards, and they're lousy, but these ones are kind of I don't know. And if you don't like them, don't tell anyone. Okay. How important is it to impress your parents?
Well, both of my parents are gone. And I don't know that I liked that my parents were proud of me, but I don't know that I specifically tried to impress them. It was more of I'm trying to be my best self. And then my parents, probably similar to your parents, were from a very different generation. So it was interesting to me that my dad would be, this is my daughter, the doctor, right? And put his arm around me. Yet, when his dog would have problems, and I'd say from the other side of the country, because I was in school, you need to take your dog to the vet, that was not an option, right? The dog either figured it out or it was time to put the dog to sleep, right? So it's like, well, you, you're impressed to say that I'm a doctor, but you won't take doctor's orders. Now, to be fair, in his brain, he didn't take the human doctor's orders either, right? He did whatever he wanted. Um, so how important is it to impress your parents? I would go back and say it's not important to impress your parents. You just My advice would be for people to just be your best self and be proud of who you are.
I agree with you 100%. In my early times, I lived my life in a very weird way because my dad told me that I shouldn't go to vet school and I should be an architect and I wouldn't be a good vet and la la la. That was typical, right? Like he would tell all of us things that actually kind of damaged us on some level. So I actually, early on, I decided to live my life. I thought, okay, you could not live your dreams. I'm going to live your dreams in front of your eyes. So I was really stubborn because of the challenging relationship that we had. So, he wanted to move to Canada and be a vet here, and he eventually didn't, and I did. And so it was just like, I, and then I realized this is nonsense. I should not be living like that. So then I kind of corrected course. And even though it helped me again, it helped me to get where I am today. It was kind of immature, and I see it now. So, but yeah, it's not important to impress my parents at all now.
Mhm.
And I guess in the past, I confessed that I probably tried. Yeah.
Are your parents still with us?
No, no, they're not. They're both passed away.
Yeah.
And my dad actually mentioned several times, you haven't chosen an easy life for yourself, right? Like I came out when I was 37 or something like that, and we had a conversation with my dad, and he said, "You haven't chosen an easy life for yourself." And I said, "How do you know?" And I know that I've chosen the best life I could have had.
Mhm.
Anyway, last card of today, one more double. I'm gonna mix them up, not
Okay.
to make it easy. Isn't it cool how the universe kind of, or something kind of plans this draw, right?
Yes.
You don't know what it's gonna be, and it is what it's supposed to be.
Yep. Yep. They're all good questions. All right. Outside left hand.
Outside left hand. You're very systematic. Like you go inside, outside, inside, outside.
That brain, right? Do, 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 do.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
linear.
very systematic. That's sweet. What good qualities do you have that don't get enough recognition?
You know what? I I would say I am so blessed because my good qualities are giving, teaching, healing, caring, loving, intelligence. And again, this is me saying it, right? But I really feel like people appreciate me for all of those things. I don't feel like there's something that I'm like, I wish people knew that I was blah, blah, blah. Uh, I think and maybe that's because I wear my heart on my sleeve and I'm so authentic in who I am that people give me the recognition. I'm just super blessed.
It's like I definitely don't feel like I'm hard done by either. I feel it's more surprising to me that people actually get me more often than I would imagine. So it's kind of nice. I think that it does come from, as you say, it comes from just really not being any different in behind the scenes and here, right? And I'm talking to you about personal matters today, and you're not any different than you were when we were talking veterinary medicine. And so that's really cool. And I agree. I think that this question would come from like kind of feeling like treated unfairly or not being recognized for what you do. And I don't think either of us actually feel that way. So it just I guess this doesn't really.
Well,
It
let's
makes
go the
sense.
other way though. I think it's a very good question for the average person, and because we face the world with an open heart and an open mind, we're not
Mhm.
hiding. But if you looked at people that maybe were more cloaked, they would have good qualities in that people wouldn't see because maybe they don't open up and open their heart as easily as we do.
Yeah. And the last one, and good one. Is there anyone you regret losing touch with?
Always, right? There's never enough hours in a day. I have so many friends that I wish I could just spend hours on the phone with. I wish I could see my kids more. I wish I had spent more time with my parents while they were still alive. I would say to anybody whose parents are still alive, even if they annoy the crap out of you, spend more time with them, because once they're gone, they're gone.
I often think of the people that I would like to talk again, even though they passed away. My grandfather actually is one of those people. I was still fairly young when he died. He died when he was 87 in his sleep. He was an amazing person. I actually found him in his bed, so that was really
Oh,
hard.
I'm sorry.
But also, and it was it was interesting because I actually, he lived very nearby the student housing when I was studying vet medicine. And so I would stop by, and for some reason, I had kind of like a weird feeling that something happened to him because I was ringing the bell and I didn't have the keys and he wasn't answering. So actually, he lived on the first level. So I climbed up the balcony and broke the window actually and found him dead. So that was hard. But he was like, I would love to have a conversation with again. So I guess this is also losing touch. Like we lose touch with people who pass and die. And yeah, I would love to actually have a conversation with him, just how he felt about different parts of our lives and his wife, my grandma, and the life that they lived. So he
Mhm.
lived to, he was born on 020202. Would you believe it?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
That's
cool.
right. Anyway, Laurie, thank you so much for being here. Do you have anything else to add?
Um, I, I do want to say how blessed you are that you knew your grandparents. I never got to know any of my grandparents.
Mm, mm,
So
mm,
again, multiple of these questions is about family. Um, I would just tell people that if you have access to your family, spend time with them.
mm.
That's a gift.
Spend time with them and appreciate them.
Hmm.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to get along with everyone perfectly, but it's I think that keeping the door open and our mind open is super important, and our heart open actually
Yes.
overall. And our dogs are here to do that. They just are the best heart openers.
Yes. Absolutely.
They're can openers and they're heart openers, and our dogs are heart openers without a doubt. And
Yep.
I'm getting so blinded that we'll have to finish. If you guys saw it, like there's just one little corner where the sun can go through, and it definitely does. So, Laurie, thank you so much for spending the time with me and hanging out and being such an open book. I hope people will appreciate you for that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. It's always fun to hang out with you, Peter.
Likewise. Thank you.